Hey, it's travelgigolo and this is Nyamepi campsite at Mana Pools National Park. To get to Mana Pools, of course, you've got to come along the A1 highway that's either from Harare or Chirundu, whichever direction you're coming from. The campsite is located right on the riverbanks. The A1 is a tarred road. The first gate to get into Mana Pools is pretty much at the bottom of the escarpment. Note that you must stop at Marongora. That is on the highway, just a couple of kilometers from the actual gate where you drive into Mana Pools. Now you've got to stop there to get a permit. Once you get through the boom, the first boom, the road is all dirt road. The first couple of kilometers of that are very bumpy, very corrugated. Now we're here in the rainy season, so it has rained quite a bit. Once you've gone a couple of kilometers, you will find that the road, or we found at least that the road was quite smooth, and that's mostly because of cars driving over what was wet road. So it's pretty smooth from there all the way down to the second boom. There is a second boom at which you've got to check in as well. From the second boom down to the reception area and Nyamepi campsite, the road's fairly smooth. It's a little bit sandy, but it's fairly smooth. If it has just rained, some of it might be difficult going because there are patches of clayey, slippery mud here and there. There are bathrooms at the campsites. The bathrooms are very basic and they do need a significant amount of attention. In those bathrooms, you will find a set of wash basins, showers, as well as flush toilets. One of the bathrooms also has a bath. They're not labeled, so it's not clear which is the ladies and which is the gents, but one of them has a bath in it. There's also a washing station outside where you could do your laundry or your cutlery. While we're here, some of the showers are operational and some are not. Some of the toilets are operational and some are not. There's no hot water. There is a wood-fired donkey at the back, but it looks really old and it certainly hasn't been fired in the time that we are here. However, it's close to 40 degrees here in the summer, so hot water is really not an issue or a concern or indeed a desire. There's no electricity at the site and there's no lighting, absolutely. So you've got to bring your own lighting. So if you do need electricity for your fridge and that sort of thing like we do, then it's advisable to bring a solar setup if you have one. We do have a solar setup that's worked pretty well here. It has been clear the entire time that we are here. It can of course get cloudy and rainy as well, but the sun is absolutely fantastic. I don't think there's any shortage of solar power here. Now there is cold water. There's no indication that it's potable and we've assumed that it's not potable. So there's cold water which is supplied to the bathrooms and there are taps there as well. There are no taps at the campsites themselves. In fact, the campsites themselves are pretty much demarcated by what is a braai fireplace, if you can call it that, with a number on it, and that's how you know that there's a campsite there. The braai facility is a built concrete braai facility. It doesn't have a grid while we are here. It's relatively small, but it's adequate for braaiing purposes. If you're going to camp here, of course, and you want to braai, then I think either bring your own braai stand, which we have done. We always travel with our own little braai stand, which we prefer generally to the built-up braai facilities. But if you're going to use the built-up braai facility, then you would need to bring a grid with you or a little 2-club rooster or something like that. There's a lot of space on these campsites. They're not demarcated, as I've said earlier. All you've got is a braai place that says this is where there's a campsite. But the distance from one braai place to the next, I would estimate, is at least 50 meters, possibly a little bit more than that. So there is a lot of space. You could easily set up a number of tents here. You could camp here with a caravan, with a trailer, whatever the case is. There's a lot of space. The ground's also nice and flat. And although it's not lawned, there is quite an amount of natural grass here. Not enough to call it a lawned area, but it is nice and flat and there is a bit of grass. The areas that are away from the riverbank actually have a significant amount more grass, so those are preferable if you want a grassed site. There's a lot of shade. There are a lot of massive trees on the site, sausage trees and Zambezi cocoa trees, etc. You can pretty much camp here in any sort of camping style. You can have a ground tent, you can have a rooftop tent, you can have a trailer, you can have a caravan. There's sufficient space for it. You've just got to be able to get the caravan here, which I think is quite doable, provided it's an off-road type setup that you can get along these dirt roads to the site. In respect of purchaseables, you can get wood and nothing else. No ice, no drinks, no snacks, no fuel, nothing. So you've got to come here fully prepared. And when I say fully prepared, that means bringing water in addition to your food and fuel and all that, because I don't think the water is potable. Nyamepi campsite is named after that mountain over there, which is Nyamepi Mountains on the other side of the river in Zambia. The nearest towns are Chirundu and Karoi. Chirundu is upstream. Of course, you've got to drive out of the park, get back on the highway and get down the escarpment to Chirundu. That's about 120 kilometers altogether from Nyamepi campsite. Karoi, of course, you've got to get back to the highway and then go up the escarpment to Karoi, and that's about 190 kilometers. Chirundu is a very small town. There really isn't much going on there. There's a couple of small shops. You can get fuel there. If you need fuel and basic stuff, drinks, basic groceries, you could go to Chirundu. It's the closer area. Karoi is a more significant town. So if you need more than that, then you would have to drive to Karoi. Booking and paying. Booking, a little bit complicated. Initially, we couldn't really figure out how to book. Wasn't clear via the website and all that sort of stuff. But we eventually got a hold of the right person to book, and there are private agents that book as well. Now that brings me to paying and to the price of the campsites. Now initially we intended to book and pay and then come and camp, and this kind of changed a few times because of COVID and all this, but the initial indications of the camping prices were astronomical. Now we were getting indications of prices between, depending on the campsite, $80 and about $125 per campsite per night, which is dear. You know, from that point of view, we were kind of uncertain about camping inside mana pools, looking at potentially camping outside mana pools and then driving into the park every day, or making some kind of arrangement to that effect, because you know those sort of prices are just crazy. However, eventually, because of all the COVID issues and the difficulty with getting into Zim and uncertainty, and the fact that it's a rainy season, not a lot of people would be camping here, we decided that we would just drive through and, you know, get to mana pools and then make a decision from there. On our way here, we've camped at Chizarira National Park. We've camped at Matusadona as well. And the campsites there were a lot more reasonably priced, about $10 per person per day. And of course, it depends. $10 whether you're Zimbabwean, and slightly higher if you're regional, and slightly higher if you're international. So somewhere between $10 and about $20 per person per day. When we got to the mana pools site, the initial indication at the Marungora office was that it was about $60 for the campsite. However, when we actually got to reception, the prices are much in line with Matusadona and Chizarira. There is a difference. It's slightly more expensive. I think the range is about $12 to about $30. So it is slightly more expensive, but it's nowhere near the sort of $120 figures that we were hearing of earlier in the year when we were trying to do the bookings. Payments are cash in US dollars. For locals, you can use a bank card. You can also do your payments, your booking and your payments in Harare as well at the Zim Parks office, so that is another option too. You cannot pay by card for foreigners, so for anyone from the region, SADC or international, you've got to pay in cash US dollars at the reception or at the Zim Parks office in Harare. Gate times are 6 AM to 6 PM. The drive from the first boom to get to the campsite is maybe half an hour or so, so give yourself enough time for that. Reception closes at 6 PM, which is quite convenient. Of course, you've also got to be in your campsite by 6 PM, so you need a couple of minutes to get from reception to the campsite. Nyamepi campsite is very close to reception. It is literally a 5-minute drive or so. In a straight line, it's less than a kilometer. However, you know, you've got to wind around on the roads to get there. A significant amount of maintenance is required, especially the bathrooms. The bathrooms have recently been painted and they do look very nice. And they've got nice roofs with see-through sheeting and so on, so you get some nice sunlight in there and so on. But the showers need attention, the basins need attention, the toilets need attention, the hot water needs attention. There is a significant amount of maintenance required in respect of the bathroom facilities. Also, the braai stands need a little bit more maintenance. Now, everything's been painted and it looks kind of newish and it looks pretty good. So there's obviously some effort going into this, but it's not quite there. Now we are camped under one of these sausage trees, and you've got to be careful of those. They're really heavy and they do fall quite a distance down, so they can damage your vehicle, for example. Fortunately, where we are parked, we are exactly in a position where there are no sausages directly above the car, so the car is pretty safe. There's a possibility that a sausage could fall on the tent, but I don't think that's going to be a train smash. Now the river is quite high, and it has been high for a while. In fact, we've been in Chirundu for a couple of days and then come down to mana pools, and the river is really high and the level fluctuates, and apparently this is due to increased power generation, hydropower generation at Kariba. So what's happened here, and what you can see along the river banks if you're in a boat, as we were when we were fishing, you can see that there's quite a bit of erosion. So I would advise that you don't set up right on the river's edge, because you can see, for example, there are cracks where that swell is probably going to fall over at some point. So obviously don't park there either. This is an unfenced campsite in a Big 5 park. There are lions. In fact, we have seen lions less than 2 kilometers in a straight line as the crow flies from here. We've heard them at night. There are buffalo that come into the campsite. There are hippo that come into the campsite. Last night we had hippos come up the river bank right over here, which is maybe 10 meters from our tent. So there are wild animals in the campsite, and of course monkeys and baboons as well. What that means, of course, is that at night in particular, you've got to be very careful about going to the bathroom. If you're going to walk to the bathroom, you're going to walk in the dark. There's a real possibility that you'll come across a hippo or a buffalo, for example, maybe a lion, probably a lot less likely. I think there's a lot more danger in respect of the buffaloes and the hippos. We haven't had any issues in the time that we are here. The hippos have been around us. We've been particularly concerned about hippos, of course, because they're very dangerous, but we've had absolutely no interactions from the hippos. We have, of course, been very sensible and kept our distance as is relevant. There are monkeys and baboons, and lots of them. Surprisingly, the baboons are very skittish, and we've had zero interactions with them. We've seen them. They're generally off in the distance. When I say off in the distance, I mean 100 meters or more away. They haven't come to our campsite while we're here. The monkeys are a different situation. The monkeys are always looking for an opportunity and always close by as well. So be careful of that. The monkeys are quite brazen, so you can be right here. If you turn your back or you don't pay attention or you don't scare them off, they will steal stuff from your campsite. They haven't done that to us, but they've certainly come very close into the campsite while we are here. So we've had to be very vigilant about the monkeys. There are crocodiles in this river, massive ones. So don't stuff around in the river, don't go and try and swim in there. It is potentially lethal. When you set up your camp, of course, try not to set it up where there's a hippo berth coming out of the river. That's not advisable. We actually didn't realize that this hippo berth is right here because it's actually really steep and it doesn't seem like it's a place that hippos could climb up, but the hippos have climbed up. And they'll definitely come around your tent at night grazing the grass, and you'll probably hear that at night, so they're never quite far away. This is a malaria area. This is within the tropics. It is hot. It is raining in the summer now, so you've got to be careful of that. You've got to have adequate protection in terms of mosquito repellent, etc. At night. I recommend wear long sleeves, wear long trousers, and just try and keep yourself protected from potentially getting bitten by mosquitoes. And of course, it's extremely hot. It's probably about 40 degrees out today. It's very humid as well, so staying hydrated is really important, and if you're prone to sunburn, then you've got to make sure that you take care of your skin too. And even if you're not prone to sunburn, sunstroke is real as well. This is a remarkably beautiful campsite, a remarkably beautiful setting to be camping in. There's a lot of wildlife that comes through the campsite: impala and buffalo and hippo and warthog and it's great from that point of view. Camping on the banks of the Zambezi River, absolutely epic. If you like fishing, there's the opportunity to catch a tiger or vundu or bream. That's good eating. So just the campsite itself is quite full of life and activity, and it's a wonderful setting to camp in. And we've spent the first day pretty much just chilling here and enjoying the campsite, enjoying the view, enjoying the setting, enjoying the environment, and enjoying the 38, 39, 40 degree heat. I don't know what it is, it's really hot. What type of camper is this for? You've got to be pretty much self-sufficient because you can't buy anything here except wood. And of course there's no electricity and water, so you've got to be self-sufficient in that respect as well. This is real unfenced camping. There are lions around. We can hear the lions at night. We've seen them in the daytime. There are no fences. So if you're into unfenced camping, if you're an experienced camper, if that doesn't concern you, then this would be a fantastic campsite for you. If you're worried about that sort of thing, it's probably not the best. It is an epic campsite. I would still recommend it because it is really lovely. The chances of you actually having interaction with a lion, for example, are very low. But there are more dangerous animals like buffalo, for example, that you've got to watch out for. More dangerous in respect of the chances of an incident. I think what I'm trying to say is that this is a campsite for relatively experienced campers and people that love camping in the real outdoors, in a real unfenced Big 5 National Park. Quick recap. What is here? Bathrooms, water, not potable. Wood, you can buy. Braai stands, but you've got to bring your own grid because they don't appear to have grids. In respect to the showers, it's cold water, there's no hot water. There's lots of shade and there are some beautiful vistas over the river as well as into the park with the wildlife. And you can fish. What isn't here? No electricity, no lighting, no hot water, no potable water, no shopping, no fuel, and no fence. So, would I recommend Nyamepi campsite in Mana Pools National Park? Absolutely, 100% yes. This is an epic campsite in an epic national park. If you're set up for this, if you enjoy this kind of environment, if you can camp unfenced and not be too concerned about lions and leopards and buffalo and hippo around you, if you enjoy these magnificent vistas over the Zambezi River, which I think are unbeatable, that's my personal feeling. If you love having the wildlife running through the campsite, if you love these massive sausage trees and Zambezi cocoa trees and these ancient floodplains, yes, it's a beautiful, beautiful place. I 100% recommend it if you are up for this kind of camping. So I hope you found this informative. Hit the like button if you did, subscribe if you haven't. To all the subscribers, thank you so much, appreciate all of your support. Leave a comment below as well if you want some information, ask a question, give me some feedback on the episode. It's always great to hear back from you guys on how we can improve and what sort of extra information that you would like to hear from us. If you joined the channel and you want to leave a tip, there's a link below to buy me a coffee. 100% up to you, 100% voluntary, but if you do, hit the link, buy me a coffee. So until the next episode, go everywhere, see everything, have a great time.